What I would say about the outcome of today's case, which was Hollingsworth v. Perry, the Prop 8 case, I think that the court is going to strike down Prop 8, but they're going to do it based on standing, which means that the proponents of Prop 8 weren't allowed to bring their case to start with. That will give the court basically the chance to have an easy out. They'll get to restore marriage equality in California without having it make a broad impact on the whole country. I think that the bigger case that we should really be paying attention to on a nationwide level is what we'll see tomorrow in the Windsor case, which is on DOMA. On the DOMA case, on the Windsor case that we'll hear tomorrow, I think the court is going to do a couple of things. Number one, they're going to strike down DOMA. DOMA is a violation of the United States Constitution. It violates the Constitution in two very important ways. Number one, it denies equal protection of the law under the 14th Amendment. And number two, and maybe even more fundamentally important, it denies the full faith and credit of valid state laws throughout this country, which means that a marriage legally entered into in Iowa, for example, is not being recognized in Florida. So under full faith and credit, which is a tried and true constitutional doctrine that goes back 200 years, every legal, lawful action of Iowa, for example, should be legal, binding, and valid in Florida. If the court overturns DOMA, it will restore that particular constitutional principle, and we will have the right to have all of the federal benefits all across the country. What the DOMA case won't do is it won't overturn gay marriage bans that are a matter of state law or state constitutional law. Obviously, the Hollingsworth v. Perry case is going to take care of that in California, but there are another 42 or 43 states that don't have, at this moment, recognized same-sex marriage. And so I believe that there will be lawsuits filed in Florida and other states to overturn what we had our Amendment 2 a couple of years ago, to overturn Amendment 2, the ban, which is part of our Constitution. Those lawsuits will begin to proliferate through the country, I hope.
Issues that come before the Supreme Court are unique in that the court has to address standing first. And what that means is whether or not you have a dog in that fight. They have to determine whether or not the litigants who are petitioning before the court actually have something at stake, that they're either going to be harmed or they're going to lose something. And so in this case, it's the folks who are the proponents of Prop 8, i.e. they want it to pass and they want to continue to discriminate against folks who are of the same sex who want a marriage. Justice Sotomayor was carefully investigating and actually really directly investigating whether or not, what was the harm to heterosexual marriages. The general consensus is if they were going to throw it out standing, they wouldn't have even heard it to begin with. They would have said this is bunk and let it lie, and then it would stay to where it's at. So there's an indication that possibly, they want this to have a further effect on other states. Are they going to dismantle DOMA totally? Or are they just going to dismantle it piece by piece? Which may be what they are doing, since they agreed to hear Windsor at the same time. Because if they were planning to obliterate the whole thing altogether, I don't know that they would have agreed to hear Windsor at the same time. Because Windsor has to do with the tax effect of recognizing or not recognizing a same-sex marriage. In that case, Miss Windsor, Edie Windsor, was with her partner for like 47 years, I think it was. They had acquired quite a bit of wealth during their marriage. They got married in Canada when it became legal. And the issue there is whether or not there should be federal recognition under the inheritance tax. Because had she had her marriage recognized as a spouse, she wouldn't have had to pay like $353,000 or $363,000 in inheritance taxes. If she otherwise would have been avoided had she been a recognized spouse, she wouldn't have owed any of that money. Okay? So it appears to me, based on that synopsis, that it may be that they're trying to just take a brick out here, so then the whole house falls. In other words, they're going to take the teeth out of the dog, so even if it bites you, it doesn't make you bleed. The interesting thing is, even though Prop 8 was passed, there's 18,000 marriages that occurred while it was still legal for same-sex marriages, and they ruled that those marriages are still legal and recognized. So it's kind of interesting that, which I think, pretty magnifies that disparate impact. Rights aren't something that you can vote on. That's why they're rights. I mean, if we left everything to a majority vote, then there'd be a lot of people. We'd still be doing things we shouldn't be doing. You and I wouldn't be able to vote still. We wouldn't be able to own property. Some of the folks present here would be property. If we put everything up to majority vote, instead of looking at things judicially about what's equitable, what's fair, and what our Constitution says about our rights.